Things just feel different this go around for the start of fall camp. Feels like Tennessee, maybe, I wouldn't say has arrived, but it's a different type of Tennessee team. More on that and another commit. All that here on a Wednesday, Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Wednesday morning, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Vols. I am Eric Kane, and I appreciate you for being here, making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single day. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Make Locked On SEC that second listen, if you wouldn't mind, when we get done here talking Vols. Give Chris Gordy a listen, as football time is not just here in Knoxville, but it's around the Southeastern Conference as camps are gearing up and getting ready to roll. Tennessee fall practice number 1 later this morning here on a Wednesday, and I'll give you everything that I saw, some observations on tomorrow's show on a Thursday. But first, here on a Wednesday, again, what were some of the highlights from Josh Heupel, Joey Halzle, Tim Banks, some of the players that spoke to the media for Tennessee Football Media Day on Tuesday? A whole lot to get into. We're going to hear from Josh Heupel on some injuries for Cam Seldon, how he's going to deal with his veterans, and what all he had to say about Nico Iamaleava coming up here in a matter of a couple seconds. Tennessee recruiting got another one, the 5th commit for the month of July, the 3rd in the span of about 5 days. Tennessee football recruiting is on a roll. We'll tell you all about Tennessee's new commit, Darrion Smith, defensive tackle, in segment number 2, and then we'll catch up with our buddy Josh Ward for Ward Wednesday in segment number 3. All that and more coming up here on a Wednesday show. Before we get going, do want to give a shout out to Game Time. This episode is brought to you by Game Time, where you can download the app, put in the promo code LOCKEDONCollege. You're going to get 20% off or $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Okay, so Josh Heupel spoke to the media to open fall camp 2024. He spoke for about 20 minutes, then handed the football, or the microphone, I should say, off to Joey Halzle, Tennessee's offensive coordinator, and then from Joey Halzle to, actually it was Tim Banks, and then Joey Halzle, defensive coordinator to offensive coordinator, and then we had a chance to catch up with about 11 Tennessee players during media day, including quarterback Nico Iamaleava. So it just kind of feels different. Like Tennessee's got more players on scholarship on its roster than it's had in any of the previous 3 seasons Josh Heupel's had. So numbers feel better, depth feels better. It feels like the floor is so much higher for Tennessee football this year. Of course, the goal is the college football playoff, and we'll see if Tennessee can reach that. But it just feels like this roster, by everything that Josh Heupel said, everything that the coordinators have been saying, we're deeper here than we've ever been. We're deeper here than we've ever been. We have more talent here than we've ever had. And obviously going back to SEC media days and hearing, people talk about this Tennessee team from their perspectives around the country, it just feels like this is a different team. It's sure there's question marks. We got to see if Nico is that guy. We got to see who's going to play left guard. We got to see the tight end position. We got to see this new look secondary. But you feel pretty good about the elite status of Nico and his playmaking ability at quarterback. You feel great about his playmakers at wide receiver. You return 4 starters on the offensive line. You have probably, arguably, the best defensive line, and no probably or arguably about it, you do have the deepest defensive line in all of college football. You have good players at linebacker, and you've got more athleticism, in my opinion, in the secondary. So there are some questions, but this Tennessee team comes in with fewer of those compared to last year or the year before that or the year before that. And certainly, whenever Josh Heupel took over and the mess that was Jeremy Pruitt's being fired for cause, Josh Heupel taking over in January of 2021. A lot of this optimism, a lot of these bullish takes are because of quarterback Nico Iamaleava, the former 5-star quarterback, number 1 player in the class of 2023, according to On3. Backup quarterback to Joe Milton last year. We know the story. Went into the Citrus Bowl. Had a really, really nice coming out party there against the Hawkeyes in Orlando. What did Josh Heupel have to say about his quarterback and about how the team views him, his humility, his growth, all that and more? Here's a snippet of Josh Heupel talking about his quarterback and what makes him different. And really, it's been from day one. It's not just the intangibles on the field, but it's between the years.
It's been a big part of how the players have responded to him. A guy that came in here, wanted to earn it, went to work every single day, has developed great relationships with guys on his side of the ball, but on the other side of the ball as well. and will continue to grow as a leader. But how he works, how he competes, coming out and earning it, his consistency in who he is every day inside the building has been a huge part of the trust, love, and belief that our players have in him. Yeah, I really think that's started from day one, and how he came into the building, who he is, and how he just interacts, develop relationships with your teammates. I think that's really important. Hard to lead somebody if you don't have a relationship with them. It's a lot easier to have good conversations or tough conversations with somebody in a one-on-one or in a group setting when you have a relationship with them. So I think that's been instrumental from the very beginning, and then just his growth and how he competes has been really important too. The players have great trust and confidence in him because of those things, and then obviously the talent as well. Yeah, I thought during the bowl game, for him to take it from the practice field to the game, for the game, it really to slow down for him during the course of the game. He had great command during that. I think that speaks volume about him as a player and understanding what we're doing. He's been very urgent, worked hard, understanding what we're doing offensively, defensive schemes, the ability to control everything from the run game to protections to checks that we have inside of our offense. He's got a great understanding of that. He's a young player. He's got one start underneath him. We expect him to play at a really high level right from the jump. But there's going to be a growth and maturation for him as a player inside of what we're doing as well.
And I think that last part is something we've got to remember. Like, sure, they have high expectations for him. Sure, the sky's the limit for Nico. I mean, Joey Halsley said that he believes, not he, but he believes that, not he, Joey Halsley, he believes that Nico, has unlocked another kind of level to his game, and he's going to play even better than what they've seen in that one start against Iowa. And, of course, in practice, it means he can play even better. But my point in this is there will be some growing pains. He will throw an interception. He will turn the football over at times. He will make a wrong read. I'm going to be patient because, of course, nobody is perfect. Nobody's ever graded out at 100% on the stat sheet. But I'm excited just to see him take this ball and run with it, no pun intended, because this is just anticipation year after year after year. And here we are finally entering fall camp, and Nico's the guy. What about some veterans that he's going to have to rely on? What's the health of this team? What's the workload management going to be for some of the veterans like Cooper Mays, Bru McCoy, some of these other guys during fall camp? And also the latest on Cam Seldon and his injury status heading into fall camp. Here's Josh Heupel.
Yeah, there's no shortcuts to it. You can look at NFL training camp and see the vets out there. You got to prepare yourself and be ready to play. We're always looking at the loads of our players, the positions that you put your guys that have played a bunch of football in during some of the situational stuff that you cycle through during the course of training camp. So those are things that as a staff we'll monitor as we go through it. I feel pretty good about the health of our players. Some of the guys, some of the guys that missed spring ball that have been in rehab and may have already gotten fully cleared during the course of the summer will be intentional, just like we are with the entire roster, but really intentional with those guys as far as how we build them early in training camp, their volumes. Cam's done a great job during the rehab process. He works extremely hard. He's on pace right now. As we go throughout training camp, his ability to be a part of everything that we're doing will increase from the beginning to the end of training camp, and hope to have him healthy early in the season.
So Heupel says right there, hope to have him healthy early in the season. He's not committing to saying he'll be ready for week one. And again, it's a day-by-day process. But I can tell you that Cam Seldon is ahead of schedule. I know that for a fact, but we'll see exactly what that means here in a couple of weeks. Also, JaVontez Spraggins said to the media today that he's going to be full go and ready to roll for the start of camp. Of course, he missed spring practice recovering from a knee injury. Of course, we talked about one star on one side of the football, Nico Iamaleava. What about the other star, the proven, established star in James Pearce? Again, a lot of great things to say about James Pearce from his head football coach, Josh Heupel, and how the other guys around him also need to get better to make things easier for James Pearce.
James, great playmaker. You guys saw that throughout the course of last year, his growth from his freshman to second year being here. Love what he's done during the course of this offseason. Has the ability to affect the football game with his skill set. The growth and development of the guys around him is going to be extremely important. If you just got one up there, they got a chance to chip, slide, max protect, and try to limit that guy's ability to affect the game. So James's development, really important. There's things that inside of his game he's been intentional on trying to grow in. Looking forward to training camp with him, but then the continued growth of the guys around him as well.
Yeah, good point there. If you got one guy out there that's an all-star, it's easier to block him because you can prioritize sliding your protection, having an extra tight end over there, maybe having a running back, picking up a guy coming off the edge. But if you have somebody on the other side, like a Tyler Barron last year, it's harder to do that. If you have somebody that's disruptive, like a Bryson Eason, Amari Thomas, whoever on the inside, it's harder to do that. But obviously everybody expecting big things from Tennessee's preseason All-American in James Pearce. Okay, Tennessee got another one on the recruiting trail. We'll have, I'll tell you everything I saw from Tennessee football fall camp. Practice number 1 later this morning. We'll talk about that on a Thursday show. Fall camp's just getting going here. But Tennessee recruiting got another one, the 5th of the month, the 3rd in the span of a couple of days. We'll tell you all about Tennessee's new 2025 football commit and defensive lineman Darrion Smith when we return here on a Wednesday edition of Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. Want to see about our friends over at Game Time. Last minute deals, flash deals, zone deals, all-in pricing, views from your seats, the lowest price guarantee, which means Game Time's going to credit you 110% of the difference if you find something cheaper on another app, as well as Game Time's got ticket coverage, the best customer service, flexible policies for consumers. It's a great, great company. It's user-friendly, and it's here at your disposal for you to buy tickets. Buying tickets, that's what Game Time's all about. Buying tickets to sporting events in your area, but not just sporting events. It's concerts, comedy shows, monster truck rallies, whatever the case may be in your area. It can be at Neyland Stadium, it can be at the Tennessee Theater, it can be at the Bijou Theater, it can be at Lindsey Nelson Stadium, Thompson Bowling Arena, whatever the case may be. If it's an event and it's selling tickets, you can buy it on the Game Time app. And you can get a deal right now, 20% or $20 off if you put in the promo code LOCKEDONCollege on your first purchase. So download the Game Time app. Terms apply, user-friendly, safe, secure, easy to use. Download that Game Time app, put in the promo code LOCKEDONCollege. LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So a big thank you to Game Time and a big thank you to our friends over at Factor Meals. Warmer, sunnier days are calling. Fuel up for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in time for summer, in time for the end of summer, on the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto Friendly. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals. Again, I'm going to say that again. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always find some time to eat something nutritious and great tasting. Guys, I'm always on the run. I've used Factor Meals. I can't endorse Factor Meals enough. They're fresh. Again, never frozen. You put some holes there in the top there, put it in the microwave, 2 minutes. Voila, you're ready to roll. I'm eating. I'm back on the road. 60 add-ons to choose from. You have over 35 different meals, and it tastes like restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and blackened salmon as well. Try them for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Head on over to factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 and use the promo code LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. Again, that's factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. All that and more is at factormeals.com. Tennessee football just continues to dominate on the transfer portal. The hottest team, recruiting trail. The hottest team in the country on the recruiting trail right now resides in Knoxville, Tennessee. Clad in big orange, the Tennessee Volunteers picking up commit number 5 in the month, commit number 3 in the span of a couple of days. The latest on a Tuesday night is defensive tackle for the 2025 class, 6'2", 260 pounds from St. Francis Academy in Baltimore. His name is Darrion Smith. Now, Darrion Smith, bit of a project player, okay? You look over at the On3 industry rankings, Darrion Smith coming in nationally ranked 622nd. So this is not a top 100 guy. This is not a top 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 100. He's a top 700 guy, okay? Doesn't mean that he's going to be not very good. Doesn't mean anything. It just means that he is a 3-star and is the developmental piece. He's going to have to come in here and gain some weight, for sure. Only at 260 pounds, 6'2", but when you think about everything that Tennessee has to replace on the interior of the defensive line after this season, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. You look over the impact analysis over at VolQuest.com. Matt Ray does a good job of kind of breaking it down, but you're losing, off the top of my head, Amari Thomas, Omar Norman-Lott, Bryson Eason, Elijah Simmons, okay? You're losing your top 4 defensive tackles. You'll bring back Nathan Leacock, Jackson Moy, and David Hobbs, sure, but you're losing 4 experienced defensive tackles. And so Tennessee's done a really, really good job of bringing in big guys for the interior of the defensive line, like Charles House, Ethan Utley. You add Darrion Smith into this. Marion Dye can play on the edge a little bit. Jaden Lofton can play on the edge, of course, but you're seeing this class replenish that defensive line in a big-time state, and that's kind of what Darrion Smith can do as you come in. Plus, you got Nathan Robinson as well, who's going to be in that fold next year. But this is a guy that's going to come in and learn and watch and get in a strength and conditioning program, because that 260 is not going to play in the Southeastern Conference, but that's okay. Tennessee obviously really, really enjoys getting to know him throughout the recruiting process, liked him enough, giving him a committable offer, and he's taken it. And he committed to Tennessee on a Tuesday night. You look at what his head football coach at St. Francis Academy said, and Tennessee's had plenty of success recruiting St. Francis Academy over a couple of different regimes here on Tennessee. And his head coach had a whole lot of good things to say. Quote, he came in as an extremely athletic, strong, explosive guy. He played running back and could easily, because he has such great feet and is such a great athlete. We knew that ultimately he might end up putting his hand in the dirt, but he had to go through the process himself. He had a lot of guys with him in terms of national guys who taught him. As far as talent level, he's kind of pushing toward his best right now and is ready to show the world what he is about. He goes on to say, barring anything unforeseen, he is one of the best, if not the best, that has ever played for us. He is unblockable. Nothing can compare to this. We knew he was athletic. We knew he was strong. He was a strong guy like Aaron Donald. That is what we told him to watch and compare to. That's who we told him to watch and compare to. First of all, he didn't want to play D-line, but he is now. He's loving it, he's loving the craft, and is committed to it. And we think each year he is going to get better and better, and his best years are ahead of him, end quote. That's a lot of good things to say. And again, comparisons, you got to be careful with that. Doesn't mean that he's going to be Aaron Donald, who's going to be an NFL Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever play the sport, both at the collegiate level and at the National Football League. But they tried to say, hey, watch this guy. Try to model your game like this guy. Be explosive like this guy. Be strong like this guy. And you're seeing some intangibles in this being in Darrion Smith, according to his high school football coach at St. Francis Academy. So 3-star defensive lineman. He'll be on the interior when it's all said and done, most likely. Committing to Tennessee. His name is Darrion Smith. Pairing him with Charles House, Ethan Utley. Ethan Utley's the highest rated guy in the interior that Tennessee's brought in. Charles House is a nice prospect, but is a 3-star as well, along with Darrion Smith. But you got to replenish that position in a big-time way, because Tennessee's going to have a huge turnover this time next year, or really heading into fall camp next year, kind of where you're at right now, by saying goodbye to Elijah Simmons and Bryson Eason and Omar Norman-Lott, and of course Amari Thomas. So Tennessee again, you had Darrion Smith yesterday, Desan Brame on Sunday, Shady Howard on Saturday, Christian Gass on last Saturday, Travis Smith the Saturday before that, Marion Dye the Friday before that. Then Trey Petit, Douglas Utu, Charles House, Nick Moore, Jaden Lofton. I mean, I'm just going back and forth down the list throughout this summer of Tennessee's commits. It's been a really, really good stretch for the University of Tennessee. We know David Sanders is still out there. We know that Onis Cannonbonny, the 4-star cornerback, is still out there. Tennessee very much in pursuit of those. Tennessee very much in pursuit of Juan Gasson, another offensive tackle. He will make his announcement between Tennessee and Georgia. Probably those two teams. There's some other teams in play there, but Georgia's considered the front runner. Make his announcement, I believe, on Friday. Tennessee also very much in consideration, very much in a good position for the top quarterback in the 2026 class, and that's Fazian Brandon. He's going to pick between Tennessee and Alabama and LSU on Saturday. But again, that's class of 2026. So, yeah, football starting, camp starting, and really the class of 2025 starting to round into form, but some really, really big targets out there set to come off the board in the coming weeks. Juan Gasson's one to watch here for Friday, 26th prospect. Quarterback Fazian Brandon to one to watch on Saturday, and then, of course, Onis Cannonbonny earlier in the fall as well. So, and that's not even mentioning David Sanders, who's going to come off the board between Tennessee, Ohio State, Nebraska on August the 17th. And, of course, we heard from Matt Ray the other day that we believe Tennessee is still in a fairly good position to bring in David Sanders. We'll see if Tennessee can close and finish the job for sure. So, all right. So Darrion Smith commits to the University of Tennessee, the latest commit for Josh Heupel in the class of 2025. You have now 21 commits, and you're firmly entrenched in the top 10 and around the top 5 in the SEC. Hey, when we come back, Josh Ward, he's going to stop by and chat with us for his Ward Wednesday hit. That's coming up next, and we continue right here on a Wednesday Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. Passion, drive, patience, the formula for winning championships. It's what also keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money is bad. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive today at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Josh Fall Camp officially begins today with practice number 1. I feel like we've been kind of going over this all summer long. But, biggest storyline, what's the number one thing you're watching for over the course of the first couple of practices?
Well, Nico is such a big storyline. I think that's where everybody's attention will go first. But there are a ton of storylines, different position groups to pay attention to. I think I'll probably look at either guys coming back from injury or guys stepping up in others' absence. So Bru McCoy coming back. What do we see early on from him? JaVontez Spraggins back at right guard. How does he look, I guess, a little bit there? And then at running back, what's it look like behind Dylan Sampson? What kind of competition do we see for playing time behind the clear RB1, but everything else is up for grabs? So I think players coming back, and there's so many different positions where guys have now stepped into bigger roles, like at linebacker, Keenan Pili coming back, having missed most of last season. But then those second-year guys, they get more of an opportunity. We can find players like that at pretty much every position group. So that's probably where I will start, guys that are stepping into roles that really matter for this upcoming season.
I guess your biggest question mark for this football team, I know there's a couple of questions at a certain positions and, big picture questions that we just won't have the answer to, like, is Nico the real deal? Is Nico who we believe he's going to be? We won't know that answer for quite some time. But what's your biggest question mark about this football team, as the season officially begins?
So I'll try to choose something that can be answered quickly, because I think my biggest question overall is depth. How do they deal with injury, which is inevitable in certain spots, but we don't know when it's coming. So we'll have to wait on that kind of answer. I'll say the competition at wide receiver, who really emerges. Chris Brazzell coming in to play right away. Dante Thornton coming back after last year stepping into immediate playing time and not being ready for the role that he took on as a transfer from Oregon. Is he ready now coming back from his injury that he suffered playing a different position than what he stepped into immediately last year? Plus, Bru coming back, Caleb Webb and Chaz Nimrod being older, and then Mike Matthews, a freshman that everybody is rightfully excited about. What does that competition look like? How many guys will they play? And that's something that we have to wait till the season begins to actually see. How deep will they be? What's that rotation look like? Is it different than we've seen the last few years? But I think I'll start there because that also connects with Nico. How good Nico is going to be at least partly affected by what kind of help he gets, what kind of plays are made on the outside.
How would you go about dealing with guys like Cooper Mays, who, will probably get a maintenance day here and there? Bru McCoy is going to get a maintenance day here and there. But specifically guys like Bru McCoy, or Cooper Mays and Dylan Sampson that you really can't afford to get banged up whatsoever. Like, sure, you do not want to lose anybody. You don't want to lose Bru McCoy, but if Bru goes down or if Bru's on 100%, you got 5 other guys like, okay, well, they can play, right? Cooper goes down, you're in trouble. Dylan Sampson goes down at the beginning, you're in a world of trouble. But you got to get those guys hit a little bit during fall camp, right? I mean, they can't just walk into the first game. If you're Josh Heupel, how would you manage that over the course of fall camp?
I would think to be pretty limited in what they're doing. Get them some work because you're right. You want them to go through it, but I have so much trust in Cooper Mays. There's also the aspect of him working with the offensive line. It's not just about him and his preparation. It's more about, I think, his work with his teammates, but he's lined up next to JaVontez Spraggins so long. The left side of the offensive line is the question. What they do at left guard, how Lance Hurd plays at left tackle as he's learning within Tennessee's offense. And then, of course, working with Nico. So Cooper's going to get some practice time, I'm sure, and same for Dylan Sampson. But Dylan knows what to do as well. He took on a bigger workload in the bowl game. We've seen him do that in a one-game setting. There's no question they have to have him at the start of the season. Nobody's questioning the importance of Cooper Mays. We've seen the importance of him when he's out there and when he's not. So they would have a better idea on the overall amount of work that they need to get. But I would imagine Tennessee's coaches share our thought of making sure that they are ready to go as best you can. Things are always at risk in the game of football, but as best you can, make sure those guys get the rest and the break that they need and get some other guys some work because they'll need it too. Especially, running back, they rely on more than one guy. The plan is Cooper Mays is out there every snap at center. That's not the case at running back.
I'm going to take this from the Monday Night Chat the other day on the over at VolQuest.com. We had a poster that asked, which one would surprise you more? Scenario 1, Nico wins the Heisman this year. Scenario 2, Tennessee goes 8-4. Everybody's saying Nico is overrated. Which one would surprise you more?
Nico winning the Heisman. I mean, they just went 8-4 last year. So
I guess it'd be more or less like 8-4, but everybody's saying, oh, well, Nico's so overrated. He's overblown. He's not that good.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the basis of the 8-4 one for me, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, if they go 8-4, then he's probably not been a superstar player this season. Like I have a hard time believing that he can be great and Tennessee is 8-4. But the idea that a highly touted guy in his first year as a starter goes through some struggles and is not elite yet is pretty common. Tennessee's never produced a Heisman winner, and this team still has to show a lot to be in that kind of position where they have to have the success that can help get him the Heisman. So I know Hendon was, he was knocking on that door 2 years ago. So this offense with this head coach has almost produced a Heisman winner. But to sit here and say right now, which one would surprise me more? The team that just went 8-4 a year ago, going 8-4 again, and people like if that happens, then there will be some detractors of the quarterback because that's how it works too, even if it's not deserving. So I'd be more surprised by the Heisman.
Yeah, good points. Good points. I think everybody that answered that question said the second one 8-4, and everybody's saying that Nico is overhyped and overrated just because not that he's going to win the Heisman, but I guess it'd be more or less you think that he's more likely to hit than to fail, I guess is what we're saying.
Yeah, also, a lot of this is I'm thinking of it from the team perspective. The over-under doesn't tell us what will happen, but right now the sports books have Tennessee's over-under at 8.5. So the debate for the team is 8 or 9 wins. So I really believe if they end up 8-4, deserving or not, a lot of people will probably be critical of Nico compared to the hype that he has going into the season.
Tennessee recruiting is on a heater right now. To 20 commits, had to flip 4-star tight end from Oregon to Tennessee and Deshaun Brame, and of course Shady Hayward, longtime 4-star safety priority target. This class just continues to be more impressive, and time that's recording, 7th in the nation, 4th in the SEC. It's a pretty good-looking class, wouldn't you say?
Really good. They've hit players at key positions. The George McIntyre commitment months ago has appeared to help with his presence on campus, in my opinion at least, but guys that they targeted that were also targeted by other high-level SEC schools or high-level non-SEC Power 4 schools, Tennessee's beaten out those schools for a number of these players, and Hayward's the latest. And the way that Oregon is recruiting is at or near it's near the top of the list in the Big Ten. You have Ohio State and then Oregon. Those are probably your top two. So to take Deshaun Brame from Oregon, and they're in a position to beat out Ohio State as one of the finalists for David Sanders Jr., that can continue to add to the legitimacy of what Tennessee has done in this class, going and getting a number of players from the state of Georgia. At the time when they got McIntyre beating out Alabama, and he's an in-state prospect, and you can look at it and say, well, the obvious ties still got him, right? So I think throughout what they've done in the last few months, identifying players, getting them to campus, taking advantage of those visits in June, making up some ground a few times, because there was that talk, in early June, that with House and maybe with Hayward that some of the momentum had slipped and it had gone back the other way. But Tennessee said, okay, we'll get them back to campus and we'll close the deal. And they've done that with a bunch of these guys. Even Brame, with his commitment to Oregon, Tennessee didn't stop there and said, no, we can still get this done. And a month later, Deshaun Brame flips from Oregon to Tennessee. So the staff deserves a ton of credit. The people behind the scenes helping put Tennessee in this kind of position is paying off.
You know, with Deshaun Brame, again, I know that he committed to Oregon, but it's like, so I mean, Tennessee obviously had a setback in that regard, but I haven't covered recruiting an awful lot, and I'm not as close to covering recruiting as I was a couple years ago. But like, it felt like that one literally was like, oh, let me just take one little step back, but it just kept climbing the entire time. Like, it's, yeah, he committed to Oregon, but Tennessee's still very much in play here. It was like that one almost never lost momentum. So again, give credit to the staff and credit to Alec Ablin, who, reeled in a really, really good player. Josh, a lot going on over at Tennessee football for the start of fall camp, but also a lot going on in Josh and Swain, noon to 3, weekdays on The Sports Animal. What do you have coming up the rest of the week? And, of course, you got the newsletter every Friday morning. Yeah,
football is here. We did our show on Tuesday over at UT's facilities with Media Day, and practice is underway for the start of camp, and we're a month away from the start of the season. So we're covering everything football with hit on here and there other sports, but football is the focus now, and appreciate the plug each week for the newsletter. It goes out Friday mornings, quick, easy read, and I think Tennessee fans will like it. So joshandswain.com, or that link that Eric provides. It's free to sign up.
Yep, that link is in the show description here on YouTube, or wherever you're listening to this podcast as well. Josh, as always, man, thanks so much.
You got it. Thanks, Eric.
All right, that is going to do it here for this edition of Locked On Vols, your Wednesday edition. Tennessee Fall Camp has officially begun. It was Media Day yesterday. We've heard highlights for some of the best things that were said from Josh Heupel and some others, some players as well. Football practice is here this morning. I'll be on hand, and I'll tell you exactly what I saw coming up on a Thursday, Locked On Vols. Until then, stay safe, and we'll do it again tomorrow. This is Locked On Vols.